the importance of spiritual channels. The world is interconnected through pathways. There are roads leading to other roads, pathways linking different worlds, routes for cars, bicycles, and even airplanes that seem to fly freely but actually follow specific airways. Just as there are paths on land, sea, and in the sky, so too there are pathways in our spiritual lives. When these pathways are clear, whether for cars, airplanes, or ships, everything moves smoothly. But when there are thunderstorms, fog, or storms at sea, or when traffic accidents cause jams on the roads, these vehicles cannot reach their destinations without trouble. Such disruptions are common in our society, and similarly occur in our spiritual lives. We always hope for smooth growth and prosperity in our faith journey, but it doesn't always happen that way. This is because, during our spiritual journey, we may encounter blockages in the channels of grace, leading to problems that hinder our growth. As a result, we may stumble, fall into complaints and grumbling, or become spiritually lethargic, failing to progress in our faith. To achieve prosperous spiritual growth through a proper faith process, we need to draw upon God's grace. Grace has the power to clear any blockages and resolve tied-up issues. However, many people fail to understand this principle and try to solve their problems by their own strength, thus failing to draw upon God's grace. To draw upon God's grace, we must have faith that trusts God beyond our circumstances or situations. How can one who does not believe in God draw upon His grace? It requires genuine belief and trust in God, not just lip service. When we truly believe and trust in God with our hearts, the God who is greater than all our problems provides the grace and power to resolve those issues. However, because the way to draw upon God's grace is simpler than we think, people often find it difficult to believe. God has said that if we believe, we should consider it received, but we tend to expect the problem to be solved first, before we have faith, thus failing to draw upon such grace. Even if we manage to draw upon God's grace to resolve our issues and restart our spiritual journey, those who are content with just that will inevitably face new problems. God gives us grace, not only for us to live within His grace, but also to channel that grace to others. Just as stagnant water becomes foul, the grace given to us can become tainted if we do not pass it on. Initially, material aid might be the greatest grace for someone in poverty, but for a wealthy person, additional material aid may not have the same impact. Therefore, those who receive God's grace must go beyond just receiving it and enter the process of extending grace to others. This is the true reason why God supplies us with grace and His genuine purpose in leading us through the faith journey. Through this, both the recipient and the giver of grace will praise God, giving thanks and glory to Him. Many believers fail to recognize this and focus solely on receiving grace, neglecting the importance of being a conduit of grace to others. While our focus tends to be on ourselves, God's focus is on all of us. Just as we first received grace through someone, we too should become channels of grace for others. When we understand and fulfill this role as conduits of grace, we naturally receive even greater grace. Therefore, I hope that each of you will take on the role of being a channel of God's grace in your lives, allowing His grace to flow through you to others.
구독, 좋아요, 알림 설정 해주세요. Subscribe, like, set notifications.